Welcome to yet another debate here in the coastal region. And in today's motion, the motion reads, Kenya should introduce higher taxes on luxury goods to fund social programs for the poor. I read the motion again. Kenya should introduce higher taxes on luxury goods to fund social programs for the poor. Proposing and opposing this motion today is Matuga Girls High School versus St. Charles Lwanga Secondary School. All the best to both teams. First speaker, team proposition, you have 3 minutes.
If we tax higher on luxury goods, money taxed on basic complementary goods will reduce, leading to better standards of living. I'm Lina Muli from Matuga Girls High School. What are luxury goods? Luxury goods are goods which increase in demand is proportional to salary increase. Who are the poor? Poor are the financially challenged in our societies. Social programs. These are programs such as public education, free welfare, and etc. Inequality. Currently in Kenya, less than 0.10 of the population own more wealth than the bottom's 99.9. According to Catherine Gina, a statistic researcher, has proven that inequality would help lift millions out of poverty that will fund social programs for the poor. Our former President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta also said that statistics and inequality can indeed be tackled. Luxuries such as vast land, mansionettes, and etc. should be curbed and invested on various social programs such as food. We have a lot of poor people right here in Kenya. High taxes are being imposed on the salaries. It's hard for the poor. So why don't we just reduce the taxes which are being imposed on the salaries and increase higher taxes on these luxury goods to find them? They need help. Why should we tax more on their salaries while they're struggling, while you can just increase the taxes on these luxury goods? We have starving people. They need help. If we are going to tax higher, we are going to serve them more. We are going to fund these social programs. They're going to get jobs. They're going to get employed. The most effective reform of the demoralizing 0% in launching personal tax. This inequality. Thank you.
First speaker, team opposition, you have 3 minutes.
Already we are facing taxes problems. As we have just seen, all of us have witnessed the maandamano thing. Kenya should introduce higher taxes on luxury goods to fund social programs for the poor. Luxuries. According to the Wikipedia.com, a luxury is a good for which demand increases more than what is proportional as income increases so that expenditures on the good become a greater proportion of overall spending. Social programs. These are organized work intended to advance the social conditions of a community and especially of the disadvantages by providing physiological counseling, guidance, and assistance, especially in the form of social services. This is meaning from the freedictionary.com. Fund. Provide with money for a particular purpose, which every country has. I, Umi, strongly oppose the motion. We have well-wishers as the NGO supporting social programs in Kenya. Why should we increase taxes? Why? I ask again. The NGO supporting our programs in Kenya, we have such as Undugu Mentorship Initiative and Diani Kenya, CBO White House in Kenya, which is actually located in Diani Beach, which we all know. So, why we all love expensive things. We all want top quality things for our life. If we can't afford them, why should we? Why should we not try and afford them? We also have some of the social organizations such as Care International Kenya, which is the NGO that works with community, civil, social society organizations. as I said, we are facing strike from different places such as Kisumu, Nairobi, Busia, and here Kenya, and here Mombasa. We have seen the damages caused by the strikers, as they say that they are demanding for reducing of the taxes. But one thing that I can say, we have leaders. We have leaders, and we also have the well-wishers, as I said, who can help us in this problem. As I'm saying again, in the higher taxes, we all have improved technology or techniques such as the iPhones, the laptops, the tablets, and etc., which are transported from several countries coming here, which also by that they need increased tax rates. As only that, we also have the NGO supporting. As I said, this is another social program. So please, let's come together and oppose the motion so that we can help the poor by funding them financial support. Thank you.
Second speaker, team proposition, you have 3 minutes.
We have heard that we have strikers out there striking. Why? Because of the taxes that we have on the goods. I think I'll join the striking team so that I can strike in explaining the motion that says Kenya should introduce higher taxations on luxury goods to fund social programs. First, we have a lot of people out there. Imagine waking up to a Kenya with no slums, waking up to a Kenya that walking out there and we don't have people with no houses to live under. Poor housing, according to the country's analysis of 2022 to 2023, permanent housing units in Kenya is only 50,000% annually. Right now, we have 61% of Kenya's poor people living in the slums. We have Kibra. Kibra is one of the largest slums in Africa. Right now, if we tax the luxury goods that people are imposing so that they can have this luxurious life, we can be able to fund what? The houses of these poor people. Our Honorable President, His Excellency William Ruto, has started this program whereby we have the employers will be giving out 3% and the employees 3%. What? So that we can be able to fund the poor people living out there. We can also join this man who's leading our country by imposing taxes on the luxury goods. Another point, we have education. Right now we are having crises that we have the health being eliminated and every other thing that's helping the children in our country. If we impose high taxes on these luxury goods, we'll have a lot of money, enough money to fund what? The people who are out there who cannot afford education. We have that our high taxes on the uprising, stable luxury goods will be effective, immediate cause of the revenue. Illiteracy is a problem. The government of Kenya is constantly trying to curb and has made a slight percentage increase in this. If we tax these luxury goods, these goods which are meant to make people's life comfortable. Right now, if we just take a little bit from them, because they have more than enough, why do you buy luxury goods? Because you have a lot of money, which you don't even know where to dump them. That's why you think, oh, I need this bulb fixed. Like, I need the new modern of this bulb. That's because you have more than enough money. There's someone who doesn't have a bulb under their house. So if we just tax these luxury goods, we'll be able to fund this education for these poor people out there. The government of Kenya is trying to help our social programs by funding them, but the luxury goods will earn more and more taxes and more revenue to the government so that we can impose it on the education. Our normal tax has been used to expense, such as an expensive right introducing the free primary education. So I would like the opposers' side to join us in striking towards taxing high luxury goods to fund the social programs. I rest my case.
Second speaker, team proposition, you have 3 minutes.
Well. It's Catherine Musenya from St. Charles Lwanga Secondary School. I'm sorry, please. It's not just His Excellency Dr. Samoei. It's not just His Excellency the President, Mr. Dr. William Ruto, you just have to include doctor. He's a doctor. And then, you're saying there's no free education. We have poor children who do strive to attain education. But I just think it's according to the 2010, our former president, the President Mwai Kibaki, introduced free primary education. Do you tell me now there's no access to students who don't have education just because they're poor? That's a very big no. We have an example of Kibarani, which has been claimed by His Excellency Governor, the former Governor, Hassan Ali Joe. And we have been introduced the Miracle Park. Now do you want to say that there's slums just because the government has not introduced higher taxes on luxury goods? Food for thought. I have a question for you, my judge. Now you are using a smartphone. If it was not for the low taxes, would you acquire the smartphone? Food for thought. These luxury goods are such highly taxed, like vehicles, iPhones, into arrival to the country. Now, how do you tell me that I'll acquire an iPhone to research on this motion, and there is a tax which is pressuring me up there? Of course, I won't be able to research. Of course, I won't be able to carry out my studies. Remember, we are in the 21st century, where we can use the iPhones in researching on our educations. We have STEM contests. We are students. The science, technology, and engineering programs where we have to research. Do you tell me that we won't research because we don't have iPhones for the high taxes? No. In conclusion, Kenya should not introduce higher taxes on luxury goods to fund social programs. Thank you.
Team proposition, third speaker, you have 3 minutes.
I come from a background that a simple lip gloss with a price of 250 shillings can feed my family. I come from another background that's seen the simple shoes, most of us are wearing the leather shoes, can offer funds that can feed my family for a good week. And yet, we're claiming that high taxes cannot improve social programs for the poor. My name is Jadine Amani, and I'm from the PAL of Kwale County, Matuga Girls, and I'm here to propose the motion. My first point is on cosmetics. Currently in Kenya, 30% of the women use cosmetics. If we are going to have a survey in this room, currently you will see that not only eyebrows, but nails and lipstick has been applied by our beautiful teachers. Yes, are they cosmetics? Yes, they are. Is it a basic need for one to survive? No, it is not. It is a luxury good. Women in Kenya spend over 20,000 shillings monthly to keep on buying the same luxury goods. But I'm in pain and I'm in agony as they use these products to fund and make themselves more beautiful, and yet in the slums we are suffering. A media house in Kenya states that 5% should be proposed on false beards, eyebrows, and wigs. And yes, as I've showed you from the statistics, that 30% of women in Kenya are currently using the current. What about the men who are using the fake beards? If we're going to sum this up, 60% of people in Kenya are depending on the luxury goods. What happens if we tax them? If we're going to depend on the normal tax rates that most people evade, we are not going to get any funds sooner or later. The results will be slow. But what are we going to do if you're going to depend on a thing that people use constantly and monthly, 20,000 monthly, we tax it, so as to fund these social programs of people in my village? Am I digging holes or am I beating around the bush? It is a fact. You said that, I will say from the second proposal that an iPhone will help me do research. You should not tax. That research you are affording to do is at the cost of someone else's hunger. So will you enjoy doing research while other people are suffering? Instead, we should offer high taxes that will not affect the people who can afford the goods, but instead increase the charter for those who are poor and improve their lifestyle. It's a win-win situation for both sides. According to Business Daily, women in the industry are upcoming billionaires. What does that imply? The luxury goods, which I'm specifically basing on, cosmetics, have been constantly used. Constantly used means it is a reliable source of revenue to the government. And what are we going to use the revenue for? Funding social programs. One good example of social programs is the food that we people in Kenya are currently missing. According to the bill of the Kenyan institution, the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Njuguna Ndugu wants to add taxes on the fake elections. Why would he do something like that? Is it used by only 20% or MENA 15%? No. They want to use it because they have a major impact. The cosmetics that we people are actually affording as luxury goods can serve as a source of revenue to the people who are dying of hunger. On to my last, my conclusion point, I would just like to ask a question to you people. From the word luxury, you get shivers, right? You get shivers because it's luxury. Are you going to afford the luxury? Or instead, are you going to take part and help to develop some source of revenue to the people who are actually dying of hunger? So kindly answer my question. Have a nice day.
Third speaker, Team Opposition, you have 3 minutes.
Kenya should introduce higher taxes on luxury goods to fund social programs of the poor. I, Mary Awino, from St. Charles Secondary School, stand to strongly, and not only oppose, but strongly oppose this motion. Why? Let me remind you something. You know what? I'm allergic to these rumors that is being spread in this area. Let me remind you this thing. Poverty is part of us. We cannot eradicate it completely. We can just bring out solution to reduce it. So, as she had said that cosmetic is not a basic need. Maybe to you, I might put it so. But what about for those people employed as hair hostess? They must do makeups. That is a must. They must look attractive. What about them? So does that mean that when we tax goods higher, because I am from a poor background, I have the beauty that it takes to be a hair hostess, but I need to add on some makeup, I can't be one? That's a no. A serious no in that matter. Let me remind you, modelers too. As I'm future aspiring to be one, I will tell you this. Every modeler must do a makeup. And if you think it's a no, then I wish you had time to give me 2, 3, maybe 5 examples for me to agree with that. You've also said that my second opposer said that we should not give high taxes. That's a no. You are misquoting my second speaker. This is what she said, that Kenya should introduce lower taxes, not absolutely zero taxes. So, on to my first point. Many countries, let's take for instance when this country, Kenya, imposes high taxation on goods that come from outside, which are imported. Have you ever thought is maybe one of a business student that when you give out high taxes, the other country might also decide to impose a total ban on that particular good. So imagine that Kenya staying as a country without cosmetics, or maybe produces 2%. That isn't Kenya, you know. So, I, Mary Awino, would urge my worthy opponents to join me in opposing this motion and making it look like reducing. Kenya should introduce lower taxes on luxury goods to fund social programs for the poor. So, I would urge strongly and pleadingly urge my opponents to join me, because there is this thing that says all of us are right, but the other one is you. Food for thought to you all. And let me remind you this. If you can't fight them, why go on a losing battle? Please come and join us. Thank you.
Team Proposition, you have 1 minute to give your closing remark.
Thank you so much for actually putting words in my mouth. I did not say decrease taxes. I only said raise the taxes. So as they raise the taxes on the luxury goods to a price that will not affect those who can afford the luxury taxes, but can actually affect positively, as I quote, the people who can't afford. And then you said, there's a point that you people came across and said that the existence of some social communities that will actually curb and support the social programs. But then I have this one good question for you, which is a hot fact. Currently, the gross domestic, according to the GPD, poverty has increased since 2018 from 5.5% to 7.5%. I may be wrong or I may be caught in this, but let me ask you, are your social organizations doing anything to curb this? Let's go for an instant. And the instant thing that will solve the current social problems and the current difficulties that we're facing is imposing high and affordable taxes that will not affect any of the parties. Thank you.
Team Opposition, you have 1 minute to give your closing remark.
Yes, to remind you again, I'm Mary Awino from St. Charles Secondary School. Let me tell you this thing. As I said it earlier, that makeup, cosmetic is a basic need to others. If it isn't to you, it's to others. So, let me also tell you, vast a question. This is it. Some questions are rhetorical. They don't need to be answered. So my apologies. Yours seems to be rhetorical. In conclusion, Kenya should not introduce higher taxes. There are other ways of helping the poor. So introduction of higher taxes is a no, and a very, very big no. Thank you.
Kenya should introduce higher taxes on luxury goods to fund social programs for the poor. My expectation, I needed to understand what luxury goods are. Yeah, I didn't even know cosmetics are actually luxury goods, but probably I have been introduced to that. In my opinion, I know there are people who buy cars at about 1 million shillings, and others on the same road have cars being driven, and they cost about 40 million shillings, and you wonder, are we not going to the same place? That definitely means the 41 is a luxury, is it? Because they would still move in the same way, but they just want extra comfort. There are people who have yachts. I think we're in the coast here, you know better. So I was really hoping to get, to understand and get to know maybe other people who own these particular things, or maybe these particular goods, and get enlightened by you. Of course, the other part of the motion is to understand what social programs are and really give examples for me to help to understand these particular programs and what they're doing. I was taken a bit by some examples, but hopefully I can get to understand more with more research. Let me start with Matuga girls, and I want the entire house to put your hands together for Lina. Please appreciate her with a round of applause. Now, Lina, as I gave a story when I started here, my first time to appear, something happened in me. So do not worry, it is just a start of the many other greater opportunities you will have as well to speak, okay? So that is much understood, and we realize we're here to develop people in those particular skills. So don't feel like, oh my, what just happened to me, okay? So you give an example. I think the first one that you gave was about vast land, and I thought, yeah, you're right. There are people who own vast of land that are just idle. Maybe these ones should be taxed, and I love those kind of examples that you brought in. And I think you're a good speaker as well, though I noticed that you panicked, so don't worry about that, all right? However, I would have wanted to hear from you the example on social programs. It would have been nice if you at least gave a few of that. Then Rita comes in, good speaker as well, good start. But Rita, you bring in another interesting side of things. You say you want to strike for more taxes. I don't know who can join you, really. I don't know. Striking so that I can be taxed more. It's a tough one, but I was just listening anyway. So what luxury goods should be taxed? And then you talked about that the president has introduced taxes on these particular goods. Which ones? What I know, though, is that he lowered taxes like on helicopters. And I was thinking, really? Okay. This is just my opinion. So when you say that he has introduced taxes on these luxury goods, what are they? Or maybe it's the hairs of the ladies and the likes. I don't know. You should have given me those examples. I was here to be educated by you. So I felt like you dwelt more on what the taxes can do, saying they can do this, they can do that. But remember, the motion is not about what can they do. It's about these particular goods being taxed. So we can see, anyway, really, these people, if they can afford it, why not really tax even more? Jaden, I think you are outstanding. I think that's the one word I wrote for you. You're a good debater, good start, good citations as well. So well done. Keep doing that. I think you're a great debater. St. Charles, Lwanga, I think Mary, you also started very well as your team, and I think you spoke about we are facing enough trouble as well. My quick question to the entire team was this. If not taxing these luxury goods, then for us to fund social programs, what can we do? All right? So I thought maybe you could have given us those particular examples based on the motion. Maybe you could have said the government is just to enlarge the tax base. The people who pay taxes are just very few compared to the population of Kenya. Those kind of things. It could have been better for you to show us, if not taxing this particular luxury goods, then what? So that was a bit lacking in your end. But I felt I had examples of, oh yes, NGOs are doing what they are supposed to do. We have more of them, maybe allow them more. So which I appreciate what Mary you brought in. Catherine as well. I think that was good cross-examination when he came on stage. That listen, the fact that we have free primary education already existing, it means that we are doing well in terms of really addressing social programs for the poor, okay? Which was quite commendable in terms of cross-examination. And I think you brought in the element that higher taxes will hinder abilities like research. And then you brought in the iPhone example. And I thought, okay, so do I research using an iPhone really? You don't need an iPhone really to research, is it? You may go to a cyber cafe, all those kind of things with the little that you have. So there would have been a better way. The point was there, but there would have been a better way of bringing it, all right? That some people do their researches with not necessarily, things that they need to use. Those are the kind of luxury things you can now call them luxury and say they could be taxed more. For Mary, I think, let me start by saying there was an allergic reaction that you brought on the stage, all right? I noticed that. But it's good when you start with it. You come to the stage and then say, choose. That's better. But not in between. You have started, my name is, and then all of a sudden there's a, okay, I was like, what's happening? It's good when you start with it, all right? Fair cross-examination. But you brought in a point of neighboring countries, and I thought this did not really bring in the point that you wanted to bring home. When you bring in neighboring countries, how are they affecting really what you're talking about, our government, that Kenya should introduce higher taxes? When you bring in what other neighbors can do, it didn't really make sense. Are you saying that Kenyans now would start crossing over to the other end? That would have been better, because we have seen, for example, when beer is more expensive in this country, people cross over to buy there, or even petrol and the likes. Use those particular examples to help out. So this was an interesting one. Let's wait for the results.
The judges have awarded Matuga Girls High School with 64.7%. A round of applause, please, for Matuga Girls High School. And the judges have awarded St. Charles Lwanga with 61.3%, and the winners of this debate are Matuga Girls High School. Thank you very much to both teams. We have come to the end of this debate here at the Debate Circle. Remember to check our social media handle for more of this content on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter, and as well on LinkedIn at the Debate Circle. And until next time, it is goodbye from us.